the bypassing of manufacturing sector by India in its growth process has been a serious cause of concern, right? Of course, it is a serious cause of concern. Uh, we talk a little theoretically. There is somebody called as Arthur Lewis, right, in economics, and not just him. There are others also who gave who try to give how what stages a country will pass through in its development process, right? A generally accepted you know cycle, not exactly cycle, a process is that first a country is in a primitive state, right? The economy is in a primitive state where all the primitive techniques of production are used, right? Then the country moves to better agricultural techniques, and uh, simultaneously improves on its manufacturing sector. Basically, the agricultural sector and the primitive mode of production are clubbed together into one, and then the country then moves on to developing its industrial sector, specifically manufacturing sector, right? After which it moves on to development of the services sector. Right. So historically, there has been this has been the growth experience of almost all the developed countries right now, right? Starting with Britain, USA, the Western Europe, right? The Scandinavian countries. All these countries have actually passed through these stages of development, starting with agricultural phase, moving to industrial, they develop their industries, and then move to services. But what happened with India is that we had the problem that the manufacturing sector in India, right, has not has remained stagnant for a very long period of time, in the sense that there is no significant or substantial growth that the manufacturing sector of India has experienced. Rather, we have experienced what you say, an extremely superb growth in the services sector, right? So the how do we see this is through the shares, right? How the composition of these different sectors changed over time, right? Now, what is important with the manufacturing sector? Why is bypassing of manufacturing sector a cause of concern, right? It is that's the specific question now. So that means, what is the importance of manufacturing sector for any country, right? Especially for a country like India, what is the importance of manufacturing sector is something that we need to discuss. Now, India is a country with huge population, right? And there is a major chunk of the society, the population, living under extremely, dilapidated conditions, extremely horrible conditions. Right, we all know that, right? Even though the official estimates say that the BPL percentage is somewhere around 17.5 or 20, or based upon whichever methodology they are using, right? 20% or so, but we all can see it is right in front of our eyes that every fourth person or fifth person we see is actually living under the extremely bad conditions, right? So it's very, very important that we have to achieve some give an opportunity for all these all the population of India to develop, right? To have a dignified living, right? And the most important thing that one needs for that is to be employed, right? One needs to be employed because you want to have a dignified life. You need to have earning, right? Only when you have that earning, what we call income, right? Only when you have income, you can actually, you're assured of a dignified living. If you remember, we talked about the first topic, no, economic growth and development. Growth is necessary, but not sufficient. But when we say it is necessary, it means that income is necessary, right? So everybody needs to have income in their hand if they have to have a dignified a life, right? So now, what is the connection between manufacturing sectors? The manufacturing sector, interestingly, is a very not very, but yes, to an extent, more of a labor intensive industry compared to servicing sector. In fact, my area of study is labor employment and manufacturing sector for my PhD thesis, where I try to see how much labor can increase because of the if the manufacturing sector investment in the manufacturing sector increases, right? So manufacturing sector has a higher employment elasticity rather than, compared to the services sector. Services sector cannot actually hold a lot, provide employment to greater a number of people compared to manufacturing. And right now, the most of the studies say that the service sector of India, in terms of providing employment, has actually reached saturation levels. That it cannot really provide any more employment than it is actually doing. Right? There are a lot of studies that are bringing out this point. Right. So we don't have an option, because we have seen other countries which have developed who actually used their manufacturing sector to bring out most of their population out of poverty, provide them dignified life. Right. The best example we can see right now is China. Right. China has invested a lot in their manufacturing sector, and now it has become a manufacturing hub. Right. When in 1947, 1950s, we both started almost similarly. Right. But you see now China is almost the economic superpower of the world. Right. That's precisely because it has somehow managed to boost their manufacturing sector, and which increase their incomes. Right. So that is one challenge that we have, in our growth process, that the manufacturing sector, which is a major source or major provider of employment, right, is actually underdeveloped in India, that it has not developed to its full potential. We have moved on from agriculture to services sector, which the sector which does not have a high elasticity of employment. Right. So in our entire growth process, this has become a very serious cause of concern. And even now, we have schemes like Make in India, Startup India, Stand Up India, that have been brought by the government, which have not really helped Indian manufacturing sector to take off. Right. In the sense, like it has not really helped the manufacturing to boost the manufacturing sector of India. So there are some economists who say maybe we missed the bus. That maybe we may not be in a position because China has already become a manufacturing hub, it dominates so much that it is very difficult for India to compete. There are some who says no, we still have a lot of potential that we can we can use our cheap labor for manufacturing sector purposes. But that is one problem. So the problem with the bypassing of manufacturing sectors, and manufacturing sector also provides what we call as stable growth. When you have a well-developed industrial sector, you will have a stability in the growth, the GDP growth that we achieve. We see the most advanced nations, they always have a stable growth. USA's growth is always somewhere around 2.5, right? While India's growth, right now we see it is gone into minus something. Just 5-6 years back, it clocked almost near 10%. Now it has gone into negatives, right? So that's primarily because we are dependent on the agricultural sector and the services sector, uh, because of which these two sectors does not give us stability in GDP growth, right? So if we do not develop our manufacturing sector, there is high possibility that the population uh, that India has, more people might be pushed into poverty, and we may not be able to achieve the targets of human development that we have voluntarily accepted to by when we accepted for the sustainable development agenda, right? So this is how you can deal with the question, right? If you want to give statistics, you can give how the manufacturing sector has grown, right? From the independence, its contribution, how it has changed, all that you can say when you see the data is that its contribution in the national GDP has not changed significantly. It has almost remained stagnant somewhere around 18% or so for a long period of time, right? That is the way you can answer this question, right?